Hello guys, welcome back or welcome if you're new. It's Christian from Emotions in Wine. I hope you're having a great day. So today, something special, mostly interesting for those that are appreciating and traveling eventually to Croatia, but it's still something interesting also for others to see how a grand tasting or an exhibition is working. Of course, in a small country with a small wine scene, so it's not in big exhibition center and things like that. As you can see, this is taking place in the center of Zagreb, near the train station, in the Esplanade Hotel, which is the most historic. It's not big, so the space is not perfect for this kind of things, but it's a nice contest and location is perfect. It's the main oval room, as you see, where most happens, and then there are some three other rooms smaller on the sides. So it's a bit spreaded. That is good to not have all the crowd together. And the wine is already divided. So this was end of November for 4 days, 2 days for each group of wineries. So there were two groups, a good selection, of course, not whole wine scene of Croatia. It was mostly the famous regions, so Istria and Dalmatia, so the coast a lot, and a bit of Zagreb area, and just spots of the other internal regions. Also, few wineries from Slovenia, North Macedonia, Bosnia, so some other Balkans. Food also, because the organizers are one of the historical distributors in the city. So there was also a nice selection of food products. Of course, mostly prosciutto, so ham, cold cuts. Prosciutto is called in Croatia, and sausages and things like that. But even some creams, other products. So quality-wise, very relevant. It's an event, 20th edition, so every year. For me, it was amazing for many reasons. First of all, because I am into this. As you know, many videos about Croatia. I met again some friends. I got to know and meet other people that I didn't know before. Even a big surprise I will talk later about. So it was very interesting. Besides the quality standards, very, very high. And you could try actually even top wines of many wineries. So really satisfying. Of course, majority fresh vintage, some even not bottled yet or not released. So that is a bit the lack, but there were many old wines, as you will see. So impressive. Also the vibes and the connection with other people. So enthusiastic for me. I tried about 200 wines roughly. So it was a deep dive into it. Talking about the age stuff, for sure this is the first to mention, Moreno de Grassi from Istria. I know him a long time, since my Italian days. He was always a bit particular, but he turned even more in the last decade or so, with special wines really, besides the aging. So I tried 10 years old or even more, even white, but then in particular the reds, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, so very strange things to have in Istria. I've never seen even in northeastern Italy. So he's always like that, and super young. Every wine I tried from him, even the Malvasia and the usual, nothing was fresh, but everything was showing youth. Even the 10 or 12 years old, even a Pinot Noir over 10 years old, everything was showing youth. So even in places where you don't expect, you can reach special results. It's all a matter of you know what you're doing, you know your terroir, but if you are committed and you studied a lot and you have a lot of experience, you can. He was the perfect example, something really crazy. Prices, of course, high in his case. There was a lot of Istria in general, normal because it's still the most famous and most evolved region. I mentioned just a few, Benvenuti, Koronica, Kozlovic, which I had to mention later again for a special reason, and others. A lot of Dalmatia, as hinted, all, but of course mostly the southern part, even if not that much the Pelješac Peninsula, like Plavac or Dingač, those few choices and all the main names. There, there are many very small, they sell everything, so they don't even bother to come eventually. Not that much from north, so Slavonia, Kutjevo is the main area, or other regions in the northern part, just a few. I didn't try much about that. I focused mostly on Zagreb regions, very interesting, and Istria and Dalmatia. Of course, some that I knew already, I retried, and a lot of new stuff. A lot of surprises, actually. Many of the indigenous varieties present, for example, besides the already known Boschip, Kirk, Malvasia, of course, etc., there were some very tiny productions of local varieties from Dalmatia, even something in the innerland. In the Zagreb area, Plešivica is the famous region near Slovenia, not far from Zagreb, that is producing pienušac, as it's called, so sparkling, traditional method. They have Riesling, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Sauvignon, still wines, and the sparkling are all made with Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and some local varieties. One producer in particular, Schember, which is one of the 3-4 most important there, is making a decent percentage of the blend with this local. One variety in particular, they told me I forgot the name, is a bit particular, has high acidity, so it's very suitable for the sparkling. So very interesting. Already high quality levels and prices a bit lower than you can find in Slovenia or Italy or France. So very interesting that region, also for the still wines. Some top Sauvignon, unlike Italians, more, we could say, similar to Sancerre, and Pinot Noir still. The Schember one, a bit younger, just released, but was very nice Pinot Noir with a decent complexity and typical, very typical. So that region is the most interesting to me at the moment in there. Of course, the big slice of all the tastings was at the coast. So first, the most relevant whites. I was really impressed. Kozlovic, mentioned before in Istria, all the range is famous, is considered probably the number one in Istria. But his Santa Lucia single vineyard Malvasia 2018, but only 1 year oak aging and then all bottle refinement, unbelievable. Really outstanding complexity, still fresh even if a bit rounder. Great wine, expensive, but that was one of the most impressive whites. Bire we cannot skip. Then the Fora, Gurke, which if you follow, there was the video link below about Bire visit and interview. Their top Gurke, 22 vintage, so just released recently. Outstanding, great elegance, was really one of the very best. But of course, he's still young, 22, compared to the other 18 or another wine that impressed even more. So finally I met Luka Krajancic and Ivana, his daughter. They were there. Was a nice catch up. We talked a lot, we tasted a lot, all the range. And the crazy impressive thing was their 1030. This is the label. So 10 stays for 10 years of aging. 2017 vintage. It will be released in 27. So now is a preview for the 30th anniversary of the winery. Boschip, 1 year oaked in American cask, and then all the rest in bottle. So it was the perfect vintage for them, so they decided to do this special wine, surprisingly in American oak, mind-blowing. I was there, tasting, retasting, I came back again the next day. This was really, for me, the best white wine I had in a long time. And it's still not on the market. And still with a huge aging potential, that was incredible. The acidity is still holding up. So That is really, and since they will not price it crazy, there is less than 1,000 bottles, so just few casks. So it's really the biggest surprise of the show. So as you can understand, was quite emotional. If you follow the channel, link below for the video, Krajančić few months ago, was really a key moment. Bire, Gurk, chatting with them and trying the new wine. And Krajančić was one of the apex of the whole 3 days. A lot more from Korčula Island, so where Bire and Krajančić are. Several interesting wines, but I did a bit easily, not too much focus, because I wanted to explore more other things. Other islands, I tried the range of Stina from Brač Island, very interesting. I know most of the wines, but I had the chance to try everything. All young vintages, but I saw the potential already. The elegance is really the key component. I think nowadays maybe even more elegant than before. Some of the reds that Plavacmali were before very powerful, seems they are turning more to the elegance. So it's still a reference winery. Then quite interesting also Hvar Island, so Hvar Hills Winery is quite big. They purchase here and there besides their own property, but they are business minded, so they are doing things interesting. Also, wine bar in Split. Then I think they want to make a restaurant or welcome structure in Hvar. So it's very interesting. They make something different, grapes, some international, beside of course Plavacmali, and nice rosé, couple of variations. Then the special mention is for this island, which is remote, but it's quite special for two reasons. The first, Vugava or Bugava grape, which once was considered to be Viognier, but DNA proved that they are not, and actually there are some similarities but many differences. It's not a great white grape, but it's interesting. And Wieslander, which is Wies Islander, so Wieslander is the main reference there. They make 3 versions of this grape, all interesting and very affordable. All oaked, big casks, but still all oaked. But the second point is the most relevant. They are the first, I think. There is more sandy soil. They don't have high hills like in Korčula or Brač or Hvar. It's low, maximum 150 meters, and it's lot sandy. But they have different soils, and they focus on the single vineyard Plavacmali, which I didn't see others doing. Now someone started finally, even in Croatia, to focus on these things, but they are a reference in that. Even that, value for money, outstanding, very elegant Plavacmali. I tried the 3 crus, all a bit different, all elegant, one a bit more structured because there is some limestone, I don't remember exactly. So really something a bit out of the box, very interesting winery. For the first time I tried something from inner Dalmatia, so down there in the south, but inner part, so a bit higher, far from the sea. Is an interesting area that I never tried before. Katic is one of the 2 references there. So it was interesting, couple of local varieties that they have only there, plus some international, very nice Chardonnay, nice range of reds. So they work well, and they have is a nice terroir there because there are also lakes nearby. It's a bit cooler because of course being far from the sea, and there is the mountain between them and the sea. So interesting to discover. They are near the highway, so it's something to consider even for a stop. Then North Dalmatia, probably the most impressive for the reds. Once more, Babic. Link below to the video I did also a few months ago. Other Babic that I never tried before, 2 in particular. There were another couple of wineries from the area, but 2 Babic in particular. One is Bura Winery. He's a surgeon, retired, who had these old vineyards. His property started to make seriously. Just Babic, near Primosten area, so the classic area. Old vines. He makes 2-3 different labels and vintages according to the vineyard, to the vintage, more or less need of aging. So very interesting. It was a bit surprise, and price is reasonable. And Baracca. Baracca is a winery that I had before. This is near Šibenik, but they have also some vineyards near Primošten. That is where they have two small plots, so two separate single vineyards of Babic. But they make also nice postship. Everything is curated, even the bottling, labeling, maniacal care of everything. They do quite seriously. It's not big. I think it's about 40,000 bottles. Keep changing some labels, not every year the same. So they have several grapes, but impressive overall. And the two Babic, honestly, competing seriously with the Grazin, which is the master, the reference so far. So I was really impressed, even if a bit young, because it was all 21 vintage or so. But this was one of the great surprises. So once more, top reds, Babic. I'm getting more and more into that wine. Yeah, last Ante Sladic and Bibic, so still from Šibenik clean area where Babic is, but the inner part, so they focus more on the other local varieties. So Marastina, interesting, that bit, some blends, Lassina, which is sort of Pinot Noirish, and Bibic, even more particular, they do a nice sparkling also. They're quite expensive, but huge range, no vintage wines now to keep the standards, vintage by vintage. So particular winemaking techniques and several blends. Premium winery, more than Ante Sladic, but a bit pricey. So these are also to keep in mind, interesting things to see in the future. Last special mention for Carleusha, Vin de Garage. So I discovered them from Rijeka near Istria. They have the grapes from Istria. They really make few thousand bottles, amphora. I was surprised. I'm not a big fan of these things, but elegance, all expressive, 24 vintage, even the Cabernet Sauvignon, all drinkable. Very interesting. Of course, the more marked amphora and macerated, not recognizable the grape. That was the Malvasia, but very interesting and nice people. So it was a nice surprise to find something very out of the box. Last mention between the foreigners in particular was from Bosnia, so bordering inner Dalmatia, high altitude, Knebu. This was quite interesting. Young, they just started, but at 800, 900 meters. So it's something that can become very interesting in the future. Already quite interesting wines I found. So it was a surprise. Overall, a great event. Long time I didn't attend to something of this size since Hong Kong days, and something worth if you are very into to discover more, because there you can talk to the producers, to the sales managers, whatever. So a nice chance. I enjoyed it a lot. I hope it's interesting also for you guys. So see you next time. Like, subscribe, comment please, with whatever idea you have or curiosity you want to ask. Share with your wine friends, help us to grow, and salute.